This was the wasiyat that Hazrat had written in his lifetime after he had suffered the first heart attack. And then in 1999, this was written on the 5th of July. In his own hand, Hazrat wrote these little points, this wasiyat as his parting wasiyat. And there are many things here. I will just read a few things, one or two things. Everything, we'll find a lesson in it. And this is what the whole mission is all about, for us to take those lessons. Otherwise, if we just made the khidmat of the Shaykh, we entertained the Shaykh, etc., etc. But if the ta'limat of the Shaykh weren't adopted, then that was in reality not qadr of the Shaykh. That wasn't appreciation. Appreciation is that mission, what his heart's cry, to bring that into our hearts. And his heart's cry was, bas, sab kuch chhoro, Allah ka ban jao. Leave all the other things that are aside. Everything that distracts from Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And become the true servant of Allah ta'ala. And Hazrat used to say, sab kuch karo. Whatever halal enjoyments Allah ta'ala has given, enjoy it by all means. Whatever halal enjoyments Allah Ta'ala has given, within obviously reasonable limits, by all means enjoy it. Bas ek kaam na karo, guna na karo. Only one thing don't do. Don't disobey Allah Ta'ala. Don't disobey Allah Ta'ala. Whatever else, everything is fine for you. So, in any case, these are the aspects that Hazrat had mentioned. The first point he mentions here is, Alhamdulillah, ye faqir maqroos nahi hai. Alhamdulillah, I am not indebted to anybody. I don't have debts that I owe anything to anyone. This is point number one. While this is on the one hand, a point that if somebody does come and claim, he's cleared it up front. That too is important. Number two, that this too is if it was not mentioned, there would still be that nobody might come and claim, but that's still a doubt that perhaps something is owed to somebody. So that clarification was necessary. But in that is a lesson also. That a person should, as far as possible, be without debts. As far as possible, a person should be without debts. In the Hadith Sharif, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaches one dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-faqri wad-dayn. Min al-kufri wad-dayn. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wad-dayn. Ya Allah, save me, protect me, grant me refuge from kufr. Now, what a thing is being asked for first? Kufr, obviously. The worst thing that can be done. But side by side, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, what dain? In the same breath, and save me from debts. So kufr, anybody understands that this is the worst crime a person can commit? Nothing is forgivable if a person left this world with kufr. But to ask for protection from debts in the same breath, there's a lesson in it. Because how often debts become a means of kufr also. How many times it happens, Allah forbid, that a person sells his iman in order to pay his debts. Because of the weakness of iman, now the person is steeped in debts, and what not a person does, sometimes it's kufr in reality. And then there's kufrun duna kufrin. There are lower levels, which is disobedience actually. Those disobedience also happen often as a result of debts. And how many times a person takes debts for the sake of disobedience. So that lesson also is something to take to heart. Thereafter, I won't read those next 2-3 points, but Hazrat in principle mentions various things that are in his use. He says these are already the property of my son, and I merely am using it as a person who has borrowed it. I have merely borrowed it. So tomorrow, it must be known that these things don't belong to me. So he says, all my things, everything that I have that is usable, I don't own any of these things. Not a single thing. Every single thing of these things are all belonging to my son, and therefore this will be his personal property only. And thereafter he said, whenever something comes to me, some hadiah, etc., it stays with Hazrat Mir Sahib. It is written there that these are hadiah, whatever. So this is something which is part of my property. The inheritance will apply to it. Indeed, Hazrat used to, obviously, people would come out of their love. They would give him hadiah. But what was this hadiah then used for? Hazrat Mufti Amjad Sahib, Dawat Barakatuhum, who's an ustad in Darul Mazadville, he had once, about 2 years back, or 3 years back, he spent about 3 to 4 months in the Khanqa, writing the commentary of Hazrat's Kitab Faizan-e-Muhammad, where all the ash'ar are compiled. So in 3 volumes, he had compiled the whole commentary. Now the issue came to publish it. Now in 3 volumes, it needed to be published. And obviously now when you're publishing something, you can't print 50 and 100. It's not, one book will cost 1,000 rands. So it has to be done in a quantity that makes it feasible. But then the cost of that entire printing is massive. So now the printers want some payment upfront, because they got to start buying the paper and start doing the work. So at least half they want upfront, then the balance. So now the issue came that this kitab is ready for print. So it must go for print, but now the printer wants the money. So when this issue came up, immediately Hazrat said, called whoever was there, Hazrat Hafiz Ziaur Rahman Sahib, who is Hazrat Khadim, used to be his Khadim and personal attendant. He used to also look after the, whatever Hazrat's things were. So he asked him, how much is there in my money? So, and this I heard personally from Mufti Amjad Sahib, who was personally in that whole discussion, because he just compiled it, he went, presented it, how this discussion came. So, whatever the amount was required, this was a little bit, maybe a little bit more than that, slightly more than that. Say there was 800,000 rupees. I said, ye sab kuch de do abhi. And that kitabs were then distributed to all the ulama kiram and whoever was capable of taking benefit from it free of charge. And that entire printing cost, Hazrat paid for it. He says, ye to paise Allah ki taraf se aaye hai aur ye Allah ke kaam ke liye hai. And in one breath, that 800,000 rupees he gave it away. So sometimes it seems that, mashallah, a lot of hadaya are coming, etc. But behind the scenes, what is happening, that not everybody is aware of. But the Ahlullah's heart is something else. They, in order to keep the heart of the person giving it, they accept it. Otherwise, they are independent of these things. So in any case, this was the aspect that he mentioned regarding various other personal items and the things that he owned. Thereafter, the aspect that is for every person that was associated with Hazrat, for everybody in general. Hazrat writes, और मैं वसीयत करता हूँ अपने नफ्स के लिए और अपने तमाम अहले खानदान और अहबाब के लिए. This is a wasiyat I am giving for my own self, first and foremost, for my own self, and all my family, and all my friends. This was Hazrat's tawazu and humility, that he always referred to his murids as my friends. Never ever referred to somebody, this is my murid, my friends. This is my wasiyat to all of them. कि हर लम्हा हयात और अनफास जिंदगी अल्लाह ताला की मर्जियात पर फिदा करे. That every moment of life and every breath, sacrifice it on the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. Every moment, this was the words that used to just repeatedly come from his tongue. Har lamha, har nafas, every breath, every moment of life, bas khuda par fida karo. Sacrifice it for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. Don't let anything go against the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. और एक लम्हा भी अल्लाह पाक को नाराज करके कोई हराम खुशी अपने नफ्स में न लाए. And even for one moment, don't displease Allah Ta'ala and bring any haram pleasure in the heart. For one moment also, don't bring any haram pleasure in the heart. और अगर कभी खता हो जाए तो तौबा व इस्तिग़फ़ार और अश्कबारी और आहोजारी से अपने मौला को खुश करे. And if there is some mistake happens sometimes, insan is insan, he can slip somewhere. If a mistake takes place, then sincere tawbah and istighfar and ashkbari or ahozari. These words also, all these words, we're always there. The Ahlullah, the pious personalities, they used all these words. But Hazrat really made these things like part of common language. These things weren't so well known in the common public. These kind of words were not even generally used or heard, besides in the very special circles. So Hazrat is now, this was his continuous language, or ashkbari, that with the flow of tears and with pleading to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala and begging Him, please your Rabb. That mistake a person has made, he's made a mistake, but a person shouldn't be sitting in that position then. And not take it casually, something happened, fine, now we carry on with life. No, to wash that off. To wash it off with the tears of tawbah. The ocean, the water of the ocean won't wash it. But one tear in sincerity will wash it. One drop of tear with sincerity will wash that. So this is the thing that is required. Thereafter the next point Hazrat makes is, that tamam zindagi sohbat-e-salihin ka ihtimam lazim rakhe. That your entire life, make it compulsory upon you to adopt the company of the salihin, the pious people. This is the key to everything. There were 4 things which Hazrat used to speak about as the prescription for a person to remain safe and progress. One is the first point he used to make was that gunaho se muhafazat, to stay safe from sins. But in order to stay safe from sins, the second point, asbab-e gunah se mubaadat, to stay far away from the means that take one to sins. One is to be safe from sins, but if the person is going to be in the lion's den, then he's going to get attacked. The person is going to be in environments which are not conducive to taqwa. He's going to be in environments that are sinful, where the temptations are against taking a person away from Allah Ta'ala. Then he's going to get caught up. So, asbab-e gunah se mubaadat. The third thing was zikr ki mudawamat. Constancy on the zikr of Allah Ta'ala. Daily, whatever the ma'mul is, whatever is the prescription, not to let that be missed one day. One day, ruh ka, this was also Hazrat's words, zikr ka naga, ruh ka faqa. The day the person has missed his zikr, his ruh has starved. Like a person didn't eat for the whole day, he feels terribly weak. At the end of the day, he can really feel the weakness. Likewise, the ruh has starved that day, the day the person missed his zikr. But just that we don't realize that where the effects are going. Now he feels, well, I missed it one day, nothing happened, but suddenly he's not realizing that that gaze that was under control is now not in control. He's stealing glances now. His tongue was under control, he's suddenly not under control. He's saying things which he shouldn't be saying. His heart is not under control. This is as a result of the weakness now that has come because he's missed his zikr. And the fourth thing which was the key to all this, nek logo ki musahabat. And this is the point that Hazrat is making here, that tamam zindagi sohbat-e-salihin ka ihtimam lazim rakhe. Regard this as compulsory. The person, the type of company he will keep, that is the type of what he will adopt, the type of life he will live. और अपनी मुनासबत के किसी मुर्शिद का साया अपने सर पर रखे. Whoever, अपनी मुनासबत. This is a very important thing. Hazrat never ever drew somebody that you should join yourself to me. He says, wherever your munasabat is, your compatibility, wherever you find your compatibility, but make sure you have somebody above you. That a person who doesn't have anybody above him, then the doorway is open for nafs and shaitan to take him where they want. And then the next point Hazrat says is, Mali muamlat mein taqwa ka nihayat ihtimam rakha jaye. Mali muamlat, person's monetary dealings. He says, be very, very conscious of dealing with taqwa. Adopt taqwa to a very high level. Unfortunately, many a times, our tasawwuf is restricted to inside the masjid or at other times for our zikr, etc. But not in our business affairs. If we've taken some loan to pay on time, that is not part of our tasawwuf. If we are owing somebody something, to return that is not part of our tasawwuf. To deal with a person with fairness, with justice, that is somehow excluded. Whereas this is a very fundamental part. That is saying that be very conscious of adopting taqwa in this regard. जी और अहले फतावा से मसाइल शरइया में रुजू लाजिम रखे. And those who are the experts in fiqh, ahle fatawa, those who are experts in giving fatwa, then refer to them for your masail. Don't just take it from any radio program, somebody with some degree somewhere, some professorship somewhere, wherever, some magazine, whoever is writing, we don't know what's going on. Somebody has just said something, so it's now, that's it. We read it somewhere, we heard it somewhere, on the airwaves it was there. Whether the person is somebody, is an expert or not an expert, whether he has the right belief sometimes. Person has got a nice twang, he's talking in a very good, eloquent manner, and he gave some fatwa, but that's it. So, this is something that he is leaving us with these lessons, that together with being very conscious of taqwa in our dealings, together with that, ahle fatawa se masail shar'iyya mein ruju lazim rakhe, make sure that you refer to those who are experts in fatwa for all your masail. And among the other things that is mentioned here, one aspect is, meri ruh ko 3 martaba surah ikhlas padhkar isal thawab ka ma'mul aur du'a maghfirat ka ma'mul rakhe. That all those who are associated with me, directly, via any of Hazrat associates, indirectly, then Hazrat is saying, recite surah ikhlas 3 times daily, and pass on the sawab to me, make dua of maghfirat for me, make this part of your daily ma'mul. These are some of the things that are mentioned here. This is something we should try to maintain, whatever more we can do. These are some of the aspects that Hazrat mentioned here as part of his parting advice. Oh, this was written many years back, but this was part of wasiyat, which was meant to be, it is as if, wasiyat is as if, not in reality, as if a person is speaking from his grave. Because that's what the wasiyat is all about, that after I am gone, this is what I want to be expressed on my behalf. So it is as if a person is speaking from his grave, that this is the only chance I got to say something, and this is what I want to say. So this is the things that are most important to me, that this should be taken on. This is what the message is. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala give me and all of us the tawfiq of appreciating this talimat, adopting it, bringing in our lives, and living it till our last moment. May Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala keep us with iman, take us with iman, and raise us on the day of Qiyamah with iman. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Muhammadun Rasulullah. أرجو رضاك يا الله، أنت الرحيم يا الله.